Hello and welcome to Rooted in the Seasons, where ancient wisdom meets a modern life with a strong cup of tea and a dose of practical tools for real busy women. I'm Katya Patel, Ayurvedic diet and lifestyle educator, yoga teacher, and teacher mentor. I help women find more calm and clarity through small daily rituals, seasonal rhythms, and timeless wisdom that actually fits into their real life. In this episode, we're going to explore how Ayurveda understands the body, not just through the doshas, but through the deeper tissue layers that quite literally build who you are. As in yoga, Ayurveda works in layers. Just when you think you understand the doshas, another level opens up underneath. Many people stop at Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, but Ayurveda goes much deeper than that. Today, I want to introduce you to the Dhatus, the 7 tissue layers that build your body. Why does it matter? Because your energy, strength, immunity, hormones, and your resilience all depend on how well these tissues are nourished. In Ayurveda, health isn't about fixing symptoms. It's about building strong foundations, layer by layer. So which layers, you probably ask? The dhatus are formed one after the other, starting with nourishment and hydration and ending with reproduction and immunity. Each layer depends on the quality of the one before it. Let's have a look at the different dhatus. So the first layer is rasa, the blood plasma, the white part of the blood. And then follows rakta, the red blood cells. Mamsa, the muscle tissue. Meda, the fat tissue. Asthi, the bone tissue. Majja, the nerve tissue. And at the end is shukra, the reproductive tissue. These tissue layers are formed in this order, from the most superficial to the deepest reproductive tissue. If you already know the doshas and are wondering where the dhatus come in, this distinction really helps. The doshas are dynamic forces. They move and govern functions, where the dhatus are structural tissues. They form and sustain the body. In other words, the doshas govern how the body functions, while the dhatus describe what the body is built from. Wherever you look in Ayurveda, health always comes back to digestion. The dhatus are built and nourished by digestion. Our food must be digested so well that all tissues are supplied and in the right order. As soon as nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream, they first nourish rasa dhatu, the blood plasma. We often talk about blood as one thing, but Ayurveda distinguishes between 2 tissues, rasa dhatu, the white, translucent, nourishing fluid, together with the lymph, and rakta dhatu, the red blood cells. If you've been listening for a while, you might remember that a couple of weeks ago I introduced Agni, the digestive fire, and why it's so central in Ayurveda. This is where it really comes to life. Nourishment of all the Dhatus is the job of Agni, the digestive fire. Each Dhatu, each tissue has its own Agni. It nourishes that tissue and then passes the refined essence on to the next one. You can imagine how finely food needs to be broken down so that every tissue receives what it needs. Did you know that food you eat today takes about 35 days to reach Shukra Dhatu, the reproductive tissue, the final Dhatu? Each Dhatu Agni takes roughly 5 days to transform nutrients and pass them on. So Rasa Agni nourishes Rasa Dhatu, then passes the refined essence to Rakta Agni, which forms Rakta Dhatu, and so on, one tissue after the other. And when all tissues are fully nourished, what's left over after feeding Shukra Dhatu becomes immunity. That's quite precious, right? This also shows why weak digestion can leave tissues undernourished and immunity depleted. And it reminds us that the impact of what we eat today, nourishing or damaging, is felt fully about 5 weeks later. Certain foods nourish all the dhatus, like ghee, for example, milk, almonds, dates, and chyawanprash. Other food supports specific tissues more directly. Let's walk through them, starting at the beginning. Rasa Dhatu hydrates and nourishes the body. Its qualities are heavy, oily, and cool, similar to Kapha dosha. To nourish a tissue, Ayurveda uses similar qualities. Sweet and salty taste support a Rasa Dhatu. Foods like ghee, avocado, coconut oil, milk, and yogurt nourish the oily quality. Root vegetables, grains, meat, and nuts nourish heaviness. Juicy fruits, coconut water, seaweed, and salt maintain hydration. Dehydration depletes Rasa Dhatu. Herbs like licorice and shatavari are supportive with guidance. Rest, oil massages, walking in nature and in the moonlight are deeply nourishing here. Rakta Dhatu keeps us alive by carrying oxygen to every cell. Iron-rich foods nourish Rakta Dhatu. Red meat, beetroot, red cabbage, raisins, currants, and cranberry juice. Its qualities are hot, sharp, and intense, with an affinity to pitta. Leafy greens, dandelion leaves, sour fruits, and fermented food support Rakta Dhatu. Herbs like trikatu, amalaki, guduchi, and manjishta, walking, Surya Namaskar, twists and stretches support circulation. Then comes Mamsa Dhatu, the muscle tissue, gives physical strength and coordination. It's heavy and dense, with affinities to kapha and pitta. Red meat, eggs, sesame seeds, almonds, and nuts support the muscle tissue. Sweet foods like milk, wheat, and ghee nourish Mamsa Dhatu, but need warming spices to avoid feeding Meda instead, the fat tissue. Exercise that builds warmth without exhaustion supports Mamsa Dhatu. For example, yoga, walking, cycling, dancing. Warm oil massages is deeply nourishing for this tissue. Then follows Meda Dhatu, the fat tissue, which lubricates, nourishes, and insulates the body. It's heavy and oily, with kapha qualities. Good fats like ghee, coconut oil, avocado, oily fish, nuts nourish healthy Meda Dhatu. Bitter and sour tastes support liver function and fat metabolism. Meda Dhatu is closely linked to the adrenals. Chronic stress can deplete this tissue, reducing lubrication and insulation in the body. Gentle yoga, walking, hydration, and supportive herbs can restore balance. Let's pause here for a moment. So far, we've moved from hydration and nourishment to oxygenation, strength, and insulation. If energy feels low, immunity fragile, or your resilience thin, it often means one or more of these early layers need support. And remember, each layer depends on the one before. Now let's move into the deeper tissues. Asti Dhatu. The bone tissue provides structure and protection. Its qualities are heavy and dense, with affinity to kapha and vata dosha. Mineral-rich foods are essential. Bone broth, sesame seeds, leafy greens, almonds, milk, and seaweed. Standing postures in yoga, walking, and weight-bearing exercises support bone health. The next one is Macha Dhatu. It governs community, learning, memory, and coordination. Remember, it's the nerve tissue. It has a strong vata influence. Ghee, nuts, dates, root vegetables, warm milk, nutmeg, and cardamom nourish Macha Dhatu. Warmth, oil massages, and routine calms the nervous system. Overstimulation, especially screens in the evening, disturb this tissue. So does underuse, moving through life on autopilot. Gentle sensory engagement, journaling, baths, familiar routines, and connection all nourishes Macha. Shukra Dhatu is the final tissue. It governs reproduction, vitality, and deep rejuvenation. Sweet and salty tastes nourish this tissue, as do healthy fats and zinc-rich foods. Stress impacts reproductive health deeply. Survival always comes before reproduction. Shatavari supports the female reproductive system, and ashwagandha supports the male reproductive system. which doesn't mean that either can take either herb. That's sort of the general layer. Care is always needed with herbs, especially when specific conditions are present. And just to say, this is a lot to take in, right? Don't worry, all of the food and tissue-specific guidance is written out clearly in the blog post that goes with this episode. So you don't need to remember any of it. You can always come back to it. The link will be in the show notes. When you see how digestion, nourishment, and the Dhatus are woven together, Ayurveda's approach to health becomes very clear. Knowing the Dhatus helps you recognize which layer needs nourishment right now. Anemia points to Rakta Dhatu. Feeling unsettled often reflects Matcha Dhatu. Think of your body like a well-tuned orchestra. When one section is out of sync, the whole piece feels off. Small intentional adjustments in food, in the rhythm and rest can restore harmony again. Thank you so much for listening to Rooted in the Seasons. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe or follow wherever you're listening so you don't miss future conversations. If you'd like more support between the episodes, you can download my free guide, 5 Ayurvedic Fixes to Move from Scattered to Steady, and join my Sunday Read newsletter. You'll find the links as well in the show notes. If something in this episode resonated, I'd genuinely love to hear from you. You can connect with me on Substack, or even better, drop me an email. I always read and answer them. Until next time, stay rooted in the seasons. Bye-bye.